did you get to the point where you are now, where you're able to produce always on content across different formats? Was it a gradual build up? Sounds like it was more of a you turned it on one day, but
No, no, God, I wish. No. So when I joined the team, my team was basically formed from multiple, two or three different teams. When I joined, it was merged into the content team. It was previously design. It was previously marketing communications, I think was the job titles they had, or the structure. So as of Q2 last year, it was a completely new team. So there were no processes. There was nothing. Now we had Asana at the time, but it wasn't being used. I'm a huge advocate for workflow management tools. We use Asana, so I live and breathe Asana. But it was very, very much a gradual build. So full transparency, I think Q2, we didn't set any OKRs. Q3, I set the team's first OKRs, which didn't go to plan. When I say they didn't go to plan, there was nothing wrong with the way in which we chose them, the process, the structure. We just set too many key results. So we were thinking about too much at the same time. So we got to the end of Q3 and we had started thinking about playbooks and we had started thinking about stream, but we hadn't really done as much as I was hoping we had done. We wanted to get things launched in Q4. So the original plan was by end of year. In reality, we got to Q4 and we were like, right, we've got a quarter to build all of this out. So the team was sort of restructured into those two halves. You've got the content side and the studio side. On the content side, at the time, it was split into two, what I call pods. A pod just being a segmentation of a larger team into two smaller teams, pods. Now, each of those pods owned 50% of the content engine. We split it at the time, traditional marketing and sort of multimedia. Traditional being blog, SEO, success stories, written stuff, emails, more of the traditional old school stuff. And then content pod number 2 focused on the multimedia, so stream, podcasts, all that sort of stuff. So they had a equal split of work across those two pods. And then we started building out templates in Asana. So I'm a sucker for a to-do list. I love a to-do list in all aspects of life, business and personal. So to give a little bit of context, a playbook takes around 45 separate subtasks to get it from the point of ideation to the point of distribution, fully distributed and scheduled. But that is everything from create Google Drive folder, draft brief copywriter. Every single individual task is a separate task. You have 45 to 50 of them, you will end up with a playbook. So we built all of that structure out in Q3 and Q4, which got us to the point in January or on January 1st for stream when we switched it on. So an outsider's perspective, it looked like we switched it on January 1st. Look at this brand new streaming platform with 4 series on for launch. Each of those series had multiple episodes, but there was a lot of work that went into it in Q3 and Q4. In readiness for 2025. And the goal was to have the tap switched on in December, January, ready for the year. So we had a full year of in 2025 to build, basically.
yeah, okay. Well, and that was going to be one of my questions, right? Is how do you manage the kind of overwhelm of a team when you're trying to build something like this out from scratch? But it sounds like the building, like constructing it in a playbook way is pretty important if you're going to repeatably produce things, because it means that you can very predictably break down how long these things are going to take you to create.
Yeah, so every single one of our content types is an individual Asana board. I call it a board. I think Asana actually call them projects, but a board is just a blog or playbook. That's a board in my eyes. So each one of our content types has a different board. We structure that in a Kanban style, left to right, backlog, in progress, complete, stuck. Each of those boards has a series of templates based on whatever is produced in that board. Let's take playbooks as the example. You would click add item. There's already a template there saying new playbook. You add that. We get as many of these ideas into the pipeline as possible, into the backlog, and then we just start prioritizing. So we go, which is the most important? We start working on it and we get ticking. We just move it into the in progress column and we get ticking. Same for stream, albeit it's a different structure because it's a series rather than a single playbook. A series will have 10 episodes in, which in their own right is basically a playbook because each episode has clips that are scheduled on 5, 6, 7, 8 different channels. So you can see how the scale of a series is a lot bigger than playbooks. I think for the Sales Stoic, which is our hero series that launched on January 1st with Jack and Zach from We Have a Meeting, over the course of 2025, to produce it will take 8,600 subtasks. So 8,600 individual tasks that someone has to do over the course of 2025 to launch 366 episodes in one season. It's a year-long season. So 8,600 tasks, it shows like in terms of scalability, how do you manage that? And it literally is just every single time you do something on a task or a project, you tick a box and then everyone else knows exactly where you are. So it's building blocks, it's structure, it's adhering to the structure, it's over communicate everything. Yes, you are spending a lot of your time logging how you're spending your time, but it's very, very scalable in terms of switching on that content engine, like turning on the tap. We're able to produce, I think, playbooks we've launched. I think we're going to launch our 10th next week since, in January and Feb, we'll have done 10 playbooks. Stream series, we're launching daily episodes for the Sales Stoic, and we've now got 6 or 7 series on the platform already, and each of those has 5 to 10 episodes in. It's very, very quickly scalable when you have this building block template rules sort of set up in Asana. And that's my bread and butter. That's like from a structure and a management point of view. Everything is templates. Everything is SOPs, like a standard operating procedure. There's a template document in Google that you make a copy of because you've done it 10 times before. So it's just down to those building blocks, the prep work that we did in Q3 and Q4 that's meant we can keep up with the pace in 2025.
Have you noticed a kind of, is there almost a measurable uplift that you've seen in the efficiency with which you can go and tick off all of these tasks? Because as you said, you've done it all before. Have you noticed the time for each one shrinking?
Yeah. So in the same way that a blog and organic search is compounding returns in terms of impressions and clicks in Google, you have compounding returns in the more that you produce a piece of content, the more efficient it gets. So the first play took way, way longer to produce than the last play. And every time we do a play, we think about how we can better optimize it. So we have a process weekly called Kaizen, which is a Japanese methodology of continuous improvement. It's basically each week come to the table with one single idea that could improve the way we do something. And it could be anything from change the way we name folders in Google Drive to, I think we should change the recording software we use. So we're recording on Riverside. That's a very optimal piece of software to use. If you record on Google, you then have to do a lot of editing in something like Premiere Pro or Descript. Riverside, you can record, you can change the layout, you can reduce the gaps between speaking, you can speed it up, you can do AI voiceovers very, very quickly. So that would be a Kaizen, is moving from an old tool to a new tool. So we do that on a weekly basis. We have quarterly lessons learned sort of processes. So every week and every quarter, we're continuously optimizing the production process to the point where the first month of the stream in the Sales Stoic, like producing the first batch of that for launch on January 1st was a slog, like an absolute slog. No one in the business had ever operated in that way before in terms of producing a daily release across 10 different channels, in multiple different formats, in different languages. But after the first couple of months, it's now like you can kind of sit back and it kind of runs itself because it's just so ingrained in the team of how they produce each different series. A new series now, we put a new partner series on stream yesterday, which is basically if we have any partners, like company level partners, Dealfront and another company, and they've got a series that we think would add value to our target market, we will put their series on stream as like a added value series that you can consume on stream. We could upload a whole series, 10 episodes in about 4 hours. And that's just because we've got to the point where we know exactly how it works and where we need to get things from and the most efficient ways of doing things. So yeah, it gets quicker the more you do it.
Yeah, but you preempted my question because I was going to say one of the challenges of that level of structure, it is very easy for it to kind of get stale and become like you go through the motions a little bit. So I guess that's something just as a leader, you have to be quite on top.
Yeah, so this is it feels like I've spoken about this with my therapist. Like in terms of structure is great, but structure, if you have too much structure in a relationship, there's no spontaneity. It's exactly the same. If you have too much structure in content marketing, it can create complacency. There'll be like a element of complacency that comes in of like, oh, I did exactly the same last week. I know I'm doing. Here we go. Churn. So
you need to keep it fresh.
Yeah. So that's why with what's great about Stream is that every series is a completely different thing. So it's not 14 different series on one single marketing topic from different points of view. It is, we've got a series called the Sales Stoic, which is sales philosophy and how you can apply it to modern day sales. We've got a series called Revenue Career Ladder, which is interviewing people about their career journeys over the past 15 to 20 years. We've got a series called Next Level Vertrieb, which is our first German series, which talks about how you can go to market in Germany, how you can succeed in the German market for sales. We've got a series in the pipeline where we're actually going to do Asana for marketers. We're going to show you how to build out Asana for a marketing team. So every single series is a completely different topic, theme, idea, which means it keeps it like you've got some spice, like you've got some color, and like our idea backlog. Everyone submits ideas, and we just prioritize based on what segment we need to go after or what topic we're a bit light on. But that keeps it varied at least.
Yeah, and that sounds quite important to kind of direct the structure towards the right things, and it allows you to channel all the creativity in the directions that is to go in as well. You kind of take the workload out of the mundane elements.
If you structure the production and then you structure the ideation process, that's what structure's for. Like, so as long as you structure, okay, quarterly we're going to do lessons learned and what can we do better, that's going to help you be more creative. If you structure weekly workshops, so we have a weekly session where we actually have like a segment which is like, we call it workshop, and it's like bring ideas to the table and we just discuss how we could make it happen, or the pros, the cons. So we have a structure of here's a time allotted every week to bring ideas, but that's where the structure, that's as far as it goes in terms of like messing with the creativity of stuff. Because like one of the reasons why I love marketing is because it's that weird synergy or amazing synergy hybrid between maths and creativity. It's stats, it's data, and then creativity. So it's just making sure that the balance between stats, data, and creativity doesn't skew too heavily towards the data or too heavily towards the creativity without thinking about the ROI or attribution of what that series is going to give you.